No visual, please. Thank you. I awoke with a start. Oh my god, is it over? And I think the wounds are gone. Oh, I was still in Hinaway's room. My god, that was unpleasant. And that was nothing but text. I mean, okay, a small splash of blood on the screen, but that was text. Oh man, that sucked. Instinctively and frantically, I looked down at my abdomen. There, I saw a scar resembling the ones I'd almost died from during the blowback at Yoshie Shinozaki's house, runic lettering and all, but that was it. The bleeding had stopped. In fact, there was no blood anywhere in the room, and on the floor in front of me sat the Book of Shadows. Not a copy, but the original. Wow. I slowly touched it, and from behind me, Sachiko spoke. She was staring at me with a docile, almost reverent look in her eyes. I picked up the book and looked at it, fear and awe running through my now clear head. It grumbled a bit, darting its eyes back and forth. Eventually it seemed to settle in a specific direction, locking its gaze. It seemed to be looking out the window. I did not expect that. I mean, the window was conspicuously open, but the book's looking out? Pillar of light. Ugh. Ow. They clearly have the darkening. Oh, I'm playing. Dad and Mom both just repeat the same line over and over again, like a broken tape recorder. My god. I have to get out. That loading. Really? That's amazing. Wow, so we have, we're gonna do this intro. Unbelievable. Wow, so like it's on now. Like, what we're gonna do this thing. I can't believe it. I think this is a different intro too. Maybe not 100%, but I think it's new, because there are a lot of spoiler shots in the opening. Maybe not, I can't quite tell. I mean, there's no credits over it, it's just the intro. This might be a new intro, because those shots would be pretty spoilerific, wouldn't they? Wow. I can't even freaking believe this. God, God, this is depressing. Yeah, it's gotta be a new opening. That was insanely spoilerific otherwise. Oh man, Sachiko just glides.
Sachiko, 不思議な気持ちだけど、あなたがこうして味方でいてくれると心強いよ。
Sachiko looked at me with sweet, innocent eyes. Wow. And this is a linear chapter. There's only one way to go. I don't even know if we're going to encounter any threats. Oh my god, we're here. When I arrived at Kisaragi Academy, I got a much better look at the phenomenon. It was like a whirlpool with a red, dully shining hole in its center. Was this the entrance to the ever after? I closed my eyes, clasped the Book of Shadows tightly in both hands, and prayed. When I opened my eyes again and looked up into the sky, my body began to float. I was in control of the Book of Shadows. I was a legitimate practitioner of magic now. This moment felt almost like an awakening to endless new possibilities. And right next to me, flying by my side, was Sachiko. The momentary loss of focus dropped me out of my trance and I immediately began falling. I gripped the book even tighter and concentrated harder than before, and sure enough, I began rising up toward the vortex once more. Which implies that the same might be true of Misuto, like I said earlier. By the way, God help us if Misuto gets his hands on both books. As I flew higher, I could see Magari sitting on the roof of the school.
Book of Shadows を従えたようね。見直したわ、篠崎あゆみ。それにしても、如月学園の真上に涅槃へのエスカレーターがあるなんてね。ついでにもう一つ教えてやるとね、涅槃がこの世界に侵食してつながってしまったのは別にあなただけのせいじゃない。涅槃天神症がこの世に発生してしまった時点で、いいえ、もっと以前にブックオブシャドウズが生み出されてしまった時に、いつかこの時が来ることは決まっていた。
Pretty much, yeah. Misuto himself had established that even if we hadn't done anything, Sachi would have still exerted slight influence. I looked into Magari's face. She was being completely sincere.
その本の元の所有者も篠崎義恵もみんなそれを食い止めようと、あるいは遅らせようと必死だったの。それが次世代へつなぐだけの運命であってもね。そうやって代々受け継いできたのよ。そうだったの。だから言ってみれば、あなたがいようといまいといずれこうなったわ。ただあなたの行為はあの狂信者集団矢後浦教会の生き残りミストに涅槃のパワーを与えてしまった。その責任は取らなきゃいけないわ。責任。あなたには本物のブックオブシャドウズがある。天神症で分散していた涅槃の力はミストの持つ偽物に取り込まれてしまった。
Yeah, what do you think would happen if we put the essence of the book into the book?
でもそれを取り戻してその本に封印すればあんなもの簡単に吹っ飛ばせるわ。
Mm-hmm.
そして涅槃のコアをも迎え入れられたならその本は完璧なものとなる。さあ反撃よ。食らわしてやりなさい。世界が終わる前に一発ぐらい本物の実力ってやつをね。私は見ているわ。
I'll be watching. I prefer you to be slicing with that scythe, but I guess I'll take what I can get. Magari grew smaller as I climbed higher and higher, and as I looked up, I could see the threshold looming ever larger, poised as if to wrap itself around me.
あゆみ、怖い？死ぬの怖い？怖いかな。
I smiled at her, and to my surprise, it was a genuine smile. Somehow or another, I was feeling very calm. Sachiko looked at me with wide eyes.
どうしたの？
She turned away briefly, then looked over at me once more. It almost seemed like in that brief moment, she changed expressions in much the way someone would change a suit.
あゆみ、怖いのはサチと涅槃のコアにいる人。気をつけて。
You're damn right.
涅槃のコアにいる人？それはミストじゃなくて。うん、別にいる。
What? I looked back up to find myself practically right on top of the hole in the sky that stood in front of the abnormally huge red moon. And with my conviction settled, I jumped in. The harsh flash, the nausea, and the wrenching tightness in my chest caused me to lose consciousness for a second. But then I awoke to find that heaven and earth had switched places. It looked as though I were falling headfirst into a massive storm with flashing lightning and roaring thunder. It almost seemed like I was previewing what the world would look like after its destruction. In the sky there was an enormous face of a doll, and the walls around me were all made of flesh. My god, it is Sayonouta. I said this way in the beginning of the game, do you remember? It's been a long time. I clenched the Book of Shadows with both hands as I slowly made my landing in this new version of the Nirvana. So all bets are off. I don't know how to navigate this place anymore. It was a mountain of rubble. With a corpse right here. Do you see it?
何これ？完全に壊れてる。何よもう。あゆみ、大丈夫？うん、平気だよ。これくらい。
I slowly, carefully found my footing and pulled myself back up to my feet. This was an entirely different heavenly host. It bore almost no resemblance whatsoever to any version of the school we traversed previously.
天神小学校がこんな姿に。みんなは町田くん、中島さん、岸沼くん、クオン先生、愛子さん。
I called out to my friends but received no answer. All I could hear was the rumbling and twisting of the air around me. Oh boy. Kitashiro High Class 3-2, Kazuki Munakata. Crushed by a piece of the school. Shock of shocks. There was no mistaking it. In the midst of the wreckage, pieces of clothing from Kishinuma, Mochida, Nakashima, Miss Kuon, and Aiko were clearly visible. And the unfortunate souls who were wearing this clothing were all buried under fallen beams and other debris, and surrounded by a veritable sea of blood. I knelt down and began sobbing uncontrollably. Sachiko stared at me as I continued to scream and cry.
Ayumi? 幸子頑張ってみる。天神小学校の運命だったらちょっとなら戻せるかもしれない。
Sachiko produced a calavera necklace from her pocket. Is that what a calavera is? Wow, it's been over a decade, and only now do I realize that Manny Calavera from Grim Fandango has a joke reference of a name. Well, better late than never. The skeletal figure on the chain made a slight hollow clinking sound as it was handled, very much as an actual bone would. It looked handmade and seemed oddly warm, like a keepsake. I had this weird feeling that I'd seen this object somewhere before. Yeah, I know, Grim Fandango, ha 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 ha. I actually do not remember this. Though she was looking down at the ground a bit, slightly guilty and slightly guarded, Sachiko giggled slightly. A big smile crept across her lips, and for a moment she looked every bit the part of an ordinary little girl. I was confused. Sachiko placed her hand on the Book of Shadows. What? And the book spoke. Followed by Sachiko. Wait, if she's sending us back in time a day, that would be amazing. Suddenly, I was in Yoshie Shinozaki's clinic. The very same clinic Nakashima and I had visited on that fateful day. I was viewing Sachiko's memory of an event from long ago. Oh. Yoshie was writing something in her journal.
この本に書かれている術はすべて実体の伴わない理論でしかなかった。成功例に関する文献も全く存在しない。私はなんと愚かなことをしてしまったのだろう。最初から成功しないものに心血を注いでいたなんて。本の中身である涅槃が飛び出し、異空間を作ってしまうだけの失敗作の術。しかもそこに囚われた死者は生きていた証、存在の痕跡すらも消されてしまう。
Sachiko came into the room from the back. Her eyes met with Yoshie's and she smiled.
だが、飛び出した涅槃を抑え込むことができたため。
Sachiko stood obediently by her mother, wearing the white dress we'd seen on her in Heavenly Host. Yoshie patted her on the head approvingly. Sachiko then coughed out a fine black mist, but sucked it back into her mouth like a carp.
失われ、黒く消えたあの人の存在だけは取り戻せたのだ。
Ugh. The face on the image was blacked out like those of Seiko and the others. However... Really? To my surprise, the black marking was slowly peeling itself away, revealing the features underneath. Mr. Shinozaki? I really hope that doesn't mean that we have to absorb the nirvana to save our friends, because that would be really bittersweet. My vision slowly cleared, and when it did, amidst all the rumbling and shaking, I found myself back in Heavenly Host Elementary. Huh. Ooh. Then promptly Sachiko collapsed to the ground. Without thinking, I picked her up and held her limp, light body in my arms. She must have used up her spirit energy, as she was clearly drained. She was breathing, but only very lightly.
苦しさ。私、幸子に触れてる？
Sachiko was real. She had to have been, or else I wouldn't have been able to hold on to her like this. She seemed injured, but not in any traditional manner. There were cracks running through her body, each one emanating an unearthly blue, almost gaseous light. Meanwhile, the school itself was also cracking and breaking all around me, making an incredible noise. The roof above began to crumble away, providing glimpses of the real world. And incredibly, the entity walls hadn't spawned there yet.
戻ってる。まだみんなが死ぬ前だわ。幸子、しっかりして。早くごめん、幸子。あんなに時間戻せなかった。幸子、ありがとう。偉いね。頑張ったね。
I could hardly believe it. I just complimented Sachiko, of all people, on a job well done. Her newly formed physical body was rapidly beginning to evaporate into mist. My voice was trembling, though I suspect it was less with fear and more with confusion. She looked up into the sky, eyes beginning to well with tears. She was struggling to speak. Soon she wouldn't be able to at all. She barely had any voice left, but was persevering nonetheless. This was clearly something she didn't want to leave unsaid, no matter what. And with that, she began full-on crying. I couldn't help doing the same. The tears were streaming down my face now. Sachiko's voice was so mournful, so genuine. Yet, believe it or not, in this second, she probably saved more people than she's killed in her entire experience at Heavenly Host. That's weird. A massive earthquake shook the ground. Sachiko looked scared, so I patted her head and hugged her tightly. She then looked at me squarely in the eye, gripping her calavera necklace tightly in her hand as if it were a rosary. Sachiko and the blue light alike both disappeared completely. She was gone. The being I was hugging just moments ago no longer existed. All I could do was clench my fists and mourn. The look on Sachiko's face when she asked if I was scared of dying kept flashing through my head. I kept my head hung low for a moment, then stood up and wiped the tears from my eyes. Accompanying the sound of rumbling, one single entity wall now stood in the real world. The cycle was beginning anew. Which means we're not undoing this. We have to act now. Oh boy. Oh yeah, that is a bad moment. Oh, she's gonna flip. She was always jealous of Sachiko, and she stood and watched this. Whew. My God. We got Myers and Morashige's EVP, Calavera doll, family photo, Sachiko herself, Yoshie, and Fact Loop. EX Chapter 5. My god. And I think that actually might have been the only name tag in the entire chapter, too. I kind of have to look into this. We're getting there. We really are. We're getting there. 3 chapters to go. That was it. Now about that ending. What's chapter 8 gonna look like? Once again, it's linear. We're moving along, but for now, we must stop the installment. Well, we certainly made a lot of progress today, didn't we? We beat Chapter 7 all in one shot, and it was almost entirely text, but oh, there was a lot going on. We got through one of the most uncomfortable scenes in all of Corpse Party. I've been more uncomfortable, I think, regarding having to sit through nasty sequences, but this one was probably the most uncomfortable in terms of conveying actual pain, rather than, ooh, make it stop, I can't watch it anymore. This one was just like, ugh, really, really physically uncomfortable to sit through. My god. But we have the Book of Shadows. We're in Heavenly Host. Sachiko repented before she disappeared forever, and is now gone. The cataclysm did not yet fully happen, but it's starting to. We need to stop Misuto. There's also apparently a way to undo people who have been consumed by the blackening with their faces. I really hope that it doesn't involve us having to absorb the dimension. That really would be painful, but we need to save our friends. If the cataclysm is starting, that means that our friends are still dead. We have not restored them. We need to see what we can do. And oh my god, is it going to be nice to wipe that smile off of Misuto's face. Until next time, everyone.